Positive COVID cases force more North County schools back to virtual classrooms as the head of California's teachers union pushes for all schools to halt in-person learning.
A local restaurant owner sentenced to 40 years after being convicted of rape. The lasting effects one of his victims says she is still experiencing.
On the edge and terrified of going further, a local couple watches as a sinkhole behind their home grows and hit roadblocks as they try to get it fixed.
ABC 10 News at 6 starts now.
Major changes and new restrictions are hitting California, from mandatory face coverings outside to the potential for a statewide curfew. Now there are calls to close schools and send every student back to virtual learning. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Tonight, 3 North County schools are doing just that after new confirmed COVID cases. ABC 10 News reporter Rachel Bianco has the story of one mother who says that students are struggling to socially distance at Vista schools.
Sonia Villarreal is a junior at Rancho Buena Vista High School, one of 3 schools in the district to temporarily return to online learning. Her mom says she never felt comfortable having her daughter back on campus.
I was pulling her out of school on Mondays and Fridays because Mondays and Fridays they have 6 classes instead of 4. So I was trying to cut down on the exposure.
Her daughter's school, Vista Magnet Middle and Madison Middle Schools, are closed temporarily because of positive COVID-19 cases. According to the district's website, roughly 3 dozen people have tested positive since the district returned to in-person learning October 20th. Villarreal says the classes are just too big to maintain social distancing.
I don't think that 39 kids in a classroom times 6 classes is acceptable. We're not allowed to have weddings that are 228 people. Why is it okay, for my daughter to be exposed to 228 kids?
The California Federation of Teachers is urging all districts to return to or stay in distance learning. CFT President Jeff Frieda says with 94% of the state's population back in the most restrictive purple tier, campuses should close until the surge in cases comes down.
We have to take a look at the entire community and how we protect the entire community.
As for Vista schools, Villarreal thinks changes are needed.
I think that the elementary age kids should be in school in person. I think that the middle and high school kids should be virtual.
The schools are expected to return to campus instruction in 2 weeks. Rachel Bianco, ABC 10 News.
And late this afternoon, the district sent an email to parents about a positive COVID case at Vista High School, but school leaders say the campus does not need to close. Today, the county also reported 718 new COVID cases, the smallest increase in 4 days. Our local total is more than 66,300. Our death toll from the virus also climbed today. The county reported 7 more deaths, the total so far of 933 people.
Californians must now wear facial coverings outside their home if they come within 6 feet of anyone who doesn't live with them. Governor Newsom announced the mandate this week to fight the rising COVID cases in California. Facial coverings are required now, even while exercising outdoors. Yesterday, we told you about research out of the University of San Diego revealing no serious health problems with wearing a mask while exercising.
Los Angeles just announced it's implementing a 10 p.m. curfew starting Friday. Now, this follows an idea that Governor Newsom floated earlier this week for a statewide curfew to help limit the spread of COVID. It's an idea that's gaining a foothold all across the country as well. Today, Ohio's Republican governor issued a statewide curfew overnight from 10 to 5. It starts Thursday and it will last for 3 weeks. This is a look at COVID testing lines just outside of Toledo right now. Hospitalizations from COVID have more than tripled in Ohio in less than a month. Ohio is the latest state to implement a curfew as part of its effort to contain the virus. Both New York and Massachusetts, they have issued curfews as well as each counties in the states such as Colorado, Florida, and Texas. Governor Newsom may look at how curfews are working in each of those states before making a decision.
A number of California lawmakers have flown to Hawaii for a 4-day legislative conference hosted by a San Diego nonprofit. This despite California recently issuing a travel advisory. The LA Times reports there are roughly a dozen California lawmakers there, along with dozens from other states. All visitors to Hawaii are required to show a negative COVID test taken within 72 hours of arrival to avoid a quarantine. But critics say it's irresponsible to hold the convention in person.
After encouraging news from Pfizer and Moderna about their COVID vaccine candidates, another trial is recruiting people to participate in the South Bay. This week, AstraZeneca in Chula Vista is looking for volunteers and administering doses of its vaccine candidate. And we spoke with one volunteer who already received his first dose, though he doesn't know if he got the actual vaccine or the placebo. He's due for his second dose in 14 days.
I think it's a valuable thing to do for us as a society to find the vaccine fast.
AstraZeneca is working with UC San Diego on this study. They're hoping to enroll 3,000 people in the trial. 2,000 are currently registered. AstraZeneca will set up in Imperial Beach next week.
Another $2 million is being made available to help San Diegans who have been economically affected by the pandemic. Today, county supervisors voted to add an additional $2 million to an income replacement program. It will help those who can't work because of coronavirus. Anyone who qualifies can get a one-time payment of $1,000.
For many, the pandemic has either instigated or worsened mental health issues such as anxiety and depression. So ABC 10 News is partnering with Lead San Diego to discuss ways to cope with the stress of uncertainty, distance learning, and of course working from home. So tomorrow you can hear from experts in psychology, behavioral health, and school counseling in a mental health panel from 2 to 3 o'clock on the ABC 10 News Facebook page. From vaccines to curfews to schools, keep up with the very latest on the coronavirus developments with the ABC 10 News app. You can find it for free in the App Store.
Thousands of American troops in Iraq and Afghanistan will be home by the new year. ABC 10 News reporter Leah Pizzetti shows us the official announcement from the Pentagon today and the homecoming expected to happen in the final days of the president's term.
This is consistent with our established plans and strategic objectives.
Acting Defense Secretary Christopher Miller announcing Tuesday that by January 15th, 2,500 troops from Iraq and 2,500 troops from Afghanistan will be home. That's half of the troops over there right now.
I would expect that there is a plan in place for after we leave.
Nico Margolongo lives in San Diego and is a retired Marine intelligence officer. He went to Iraq during 2 different deployments and says this news isn't a surprise.
With the current administration, the plan at least the rhetoric was, we need to get out. We're going to get out. So there has been 4 years of that.
He says pulling troops takes time and planning and is not a bad thing if there is a safe exit plan and the goal for being there has been accomplished.
Our goal, I would imagine as a country, is to get our troops out of these areas, because we're there to accomplish a mission. And if it's accomplished, we should leave.
But he says American troops have worked hard to keep the peace and help the people there, and he wants to make sure those steps forward will remain if troops leave.
These are great gains that were made. I know people there who were injured. A good friend of mine lost his leg making sure that girls could go to school in Afghanistan. That's a noble effort. I don't think we want to see that go back to pre-9/11.
Efforts that have changed over time.
We're really going to take a look at what was the rationale really for going into Iraq and discovering what we know now, the number of lives we lost, the number of wounded, the number of injured, the money that we spent assessing really, was it in our national security strategy to do that, is something that historians are probably going to reflect on.
Leah Pizzetti, ABC 10 News.
We reached out to both Navy Region Southwest and the Marine Corps to find out if any local military personnel would be coming home. Navy officials said they don't have many sailors in the affected areas and were waiting on a reply from the Marines.
President-elect Joe Biden met with national security experts this afternoon, but he did so without the classified intelligence briefings normally provided to a president-elect. The head of the General Services Administration, which authorizes the transition process, is still refusing to acknowledge Biden's win. So his team's been blocked from receiving classified intelligence briefings. They are now relying on outside experts and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, who still has access through her role on the Senate Intelligence Committee.
I'm not being critical, just stating the obvious. You know that I've been unable to get the briefings that ordinarily would have come by now. And so I just want to get your input on what you see ahead.
Biden also continues to take calls with foreign leaders. Most recently, he spoke with Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, who referred to Biden as the president-elect.
And a former La Jolla restaurant owner convicted of raping multiple women was sentenced today to 40 years in prison. ABC 10 News broke the story in 2018 when Daniel Dorado was charged with drugging and assaulting them. Several of his victims spoke in court today, describing the ongoing psychological impacts of their assaults.
I still don't feel safe going to job interviews in person alone. I don't feel safe to do outdoor activities alone. I can't tolerate being around men, not even family.
The former owner of Bird Rock's Voce del Mare was found guilty last December on 20 counts related to rape and sexual assault of 4 victims who were unconscious and intoxicated. Dorado maintains his innocence and says every sexual encounter was consensual.